Hey, what's up, you guys? UFC 297 takes place in January 20th in Canada. First pay-per-view of the year, and we have new rumors and reports suggesting that there will be an interim title on the line. Please, you guys, like the video, comment down below your thoughts, and subscribe. But yes, folks, you guys heard that right. It seems likely that the UFC is trying to set up the featherweight division to have an interim belt on the line for that January pay-per-view in Canada. And as of right now, the two guys in that title picture will be none other than Max Holloway and Ilia Topuria. Now, this might come as a surprise to many people, but honestly, this is a very logical move for the UFC, and let me explain why. Literally just a week ago, we were getting reports that Ilia Topuria was set to challenge Volkanovski for the featherweight belt, in that Canada card. We know that they're trying to put, a nice, big pay-per-view star, on that card, since there are no champions or contenders from Canada. And of course, look no further than Volkanovski versus Topuria. I mean, that fight is an absolute massive fight. It's a banger of a fight, and it makes all the sense in the world to put it in Canada. But unfortunately for Ilia Topuria, and lucky for us, we do not have to wait till January to see Volkanovski compete, as he's literally competing this Saturday, against Islam Makhachev for the lightweight belt. If you guys have been living under a rock somewhere, Islam and Charles were supposed to fight this weekend in Abu Dhabi, but unfortunately Charles pulled out. Now, with Volkanovski stepping in, we're getting the rematch. And of course, with this fight taking place in October, we don't know if Volkanovski is going to be, good enough to compete in January. And that's what these reports are suggesting, that if he's all good to go, that they'll go ahead and schedule Volkanovski versus Topuria for January, with Max Holloway likely being a backup for the fight. But with that being said, we know he's gonna fight Islam. He just had hand surgery. You never know what's gonna happen in the fight, so if he's not 100%, which most likely will be the case, we're gonna see Holloway fight Topuria, in Canada for an interim belt. And I mean, this sucks for many reasons, and I'm gonna go through it right now. But one of the biggest ones is we just had an interim title fight literally this year, as a result of Volkanovski, challenging for the lightweight throne. They had to, make an interim belt, for Yair versus Josh Emmett. And now with him getting his, redemption, second chance, looks like now they're going to do that with Max and Ilia. That's obviously one of the reasons, we don't want to see interim titles as much, as I'd rather see just the contender fight the champion. But the other reason is, man, this could absolutely derail all of the hype behind Ilia Topuria. And I mean, obviously, if you've been keeping up with the sport, I mean, we all know about Ilia Topuria. I mean, one of the best, contenders coming out of featherweight right now, undefeated, from Spain. He has the whole country behind him. And I mean, just the wins he's been able to put together. And not just that, I mean, the finishes, you're talking about Josh Emmett, Bryce Mitchell, Jai Herbert, Ryan Hall, just to name a few. I mean, the guy has looked absolutely incredible in each one of those fights. But no matter, how incredible you could look, you're not fighting, Max Holloway's, unfortunately. As much as it sucks to say, I mean, Max Holloway is the second greatest featherweight in the world right now. I mean, if Volkanovski did not exist, Max Holloway would be pound for pound, one of the best fighters in the world. I mean, probably the best fighter in the world, with, I'm talking multiple title defenses. I mean, every time he's fought Volkanovski and he's taken a step back to fight these contenders, I mean, he's absolutely dismantled them. And in my personal opinion, I believe that Max Holloway deserves the title shot over, Ilia Topuria. But it's just the fact that every time Max has stepped up to the plate and fought Volkanovski, it just, it hasn't gone good for him, in all three times that they fought. So what are you going to do, schedule them a fourth time? Like, I completely understand, why Dana wouldn't be such a fan of making that fourth fight happen. But I mean, what else are you going to do with Max? I mean, no other featherweight can, get to the pedestal of Max Holloway. And man, it just sucks for all these contenders. I mean, even Volkanovski, I said, like, get out of my division, stop beating my contenders. Because if you really look at it and think of it this way, I mean, Yair had so much, hype Arnold Allen had so much hype, Calvin Kattar had so much hype, going into their world title fights. They were looking like the next challenger until they got booked against Max Holloway, and then all that stopped in not even competitive fights. And I feel like that is the major problem with, this being scheduled. I mean, we all want to see Topuria versus Volkanovski. I mean, we're all so high on Topuria. We think that, he's probably the greatest challenge for Volk, which is crazy to say, because like even that fight, like I don't even think it's going to be close, which just shows you the level, Volkanovski is ahead of the rest of the weight class. But in order for that fight to happen, you can't have him go through Max Holloway, because that fight, I think we could all say like, Max would beat Topuria 100%. But then again, I could be also just like exaggerating a little bit. The fight could be a lot closer. I mean, Ilia is definitely not the fighter that Arnold or Yair or Calvin is, necessarily. But it's so hard to argue against Max Holloway. So, I mean, that's how I stand on it as of right now, until I make, a breakdown of the fight, really sit down and go through the fight, and, how I think it's going to happen. But for right now, for an early prediction, I mean, you got to think Max Holloway, not only beats Ilia, but even stops him. And you could definitely expect that fourth fight to happen. And, as much as these are just rumors and, reports, like, I feel like this is 100% what's going to happen, come January. I mean, I don't think Volkanovski is going to be prepared on time to fight in January, no matter how active he is. I mean, that's like a 3-month turnaround, like 90 days. And it's not getting down to 55 like he's getting down this weekend. You're going back down to 45. So I think some things are even too great for Volkanovski, if that makes sense. But I mean, kudos off to him. If he could beat Islam this weekend and then turn right back around and beat Topuria, I mean, he's the greatest of all time, no arguing. But let me know what you guys think of this news down below. Let me know if they do make Holloway versus Topuria, who do you guys have in that fight? Who do you guys think walks out with the interim featherweight belt? Please, you guys like the video, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.